Welcome to Marveling at the MCU, a podcast that mixes geekdom with nostalgia as a comic book geek and a film nerd rewatch the movies of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'm Ollie Lewington and I'm the resident film nerd.
My name is Dave O'Hara and I'm a comic book geek.
One quick thing before we begin. It would make a massive difference for us if you'd be willing to take a second to rate and review our little podcast. Unless you want to leave a bad review, in which case email it to us instead and we'll send it straight to spam.
Today we're talking about Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, which was first released in September 2021. It was directed by Destin Daniel Cretton and written by David Callahan, Destin Daniel Cretton, and Andrew Lanham from a story by Callahan and Cretton.
So, Dave, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, thumbs up, thumbs down, or meh?
You know what? Big thumbs up. Love this film.
Mine is a standard thumbs up.
Standard thumbs up.
Standard thumbs up. I did like it. I really liked it. There were too many of the things that you would expect me to moan about to make it a big thumbs up. But it's still a decent
it's
size.
It's overall positive up for you.
Yes, exactly.
Net positive.
So, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings is the 25th film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it takes us back to present day, in inverted commas, or what would be 2026 on the MCU timeline because of the 5-year time jump between in the middle of Endgame.
Mm-hmm.
And it follows the prequel pre-blip movie of Black Widow that came in between Spider-Man and this film. It's also, obviously, I think, the first MCU film to feature an Asian actor in the lead role, and let alone being led by an almost all Asian cast, as well as the first to be directed by an Asian American director in Destin Daniel Cretton. He's another of those notable directorial choices from Marvel who, again, opted for a relatively unknown but very well-regarded filmmaker. So I was looking at his previous films, and this was his 5th solo feature as a director, and his previous 4 films had an average IMDb rating of 7.3 and a Rotten Tomato score of 87%, which I reckon not that many directors actually have.
Yeah.
We said in our last episode that Black Widow was the first Marvel film whose release was affected by the pandemic, and Shang-Chi was the first Marvel film whose shoot was affected by the pandemic. It started shooting in Sydney in early 2020 and managed about 2 months or so before it was forced to pause when Disney halted almost its entire slate of productions. On the other hand, Shang-Chi was also one of the first productions to resume in the pandemic, and that's not just Marvel or Disney productions, but across all of the major studios. They kicked off again in the last week of July 2020 for 2 more months in Sydney before they moved to San Francisco for a few weeks of location shooting to wrap up. Unusually, for movies of this kind of scale, they shot the film in order. So when they shut down for the pandemic, they had completed about a third of the film, which then allowed them to continue some of the work that would normally have had to wait. So, for example, editing usually takes place during shooting for most films now, and then it continues into post-production. But pausing where they did, and obviously editors being able to work from anywhere, they were able to refine what they had and to lock it in place to enough of an extent to allow the visual effects work for that portion of the movie to make major progress, which then in turn took a little bit of the pressure off the back end of the pipeline when it came to the really intense visual effects work that formed the end of this movie.
Yeah.
And I think it's why some of the visual effects towards the end actually hold up better than some of the other Marvel films, uh, Black Widow
I was just say
particularly.
Black Widow comes to mind right at the
um,
end. Yeah.
because there was that little bit of extra time that they got to work on that because of the break in the middle of the schedule. So let's talk a little bit about the background to this film. You're obviously going to do your usual deep dive shortly, but in movie terms, Shang-Chi was a character who it feels like has been bandied around for almost the same length of time that he's been in the comics. So
Yeah.
you can actually trace development of some sort of a film project all the way back to the 1980s before things got kind of properly serious in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
As we talked about in our Doctor Strange episode,
Yeah.
Shang-Chi was another of the characters who formed part of the very inception of the MCU in 2005, when Marvel announced the 10 properties they were developing as they started to produce their own movies. And obviously, it was also one that disappeared from the slate for a long time, just like Doctor Strange did as well. And of course, all the way back in that first movie of the MCU, Iron Man contained the first reference to the Ten Rings, which at the time sort of seemed like a little bit of a nod to potential future bad guys
Yeah.
without really having anything else behind it. Shang-Chi then faded from the conversation for quite a few years, with the exception of the Mandarin kind of popping up in Iron Man 3. Um, there were two major Hollywood successes in 2018 that finally kickstarted the development of the film in earnest. The first was Black Panther,
Yeah.
which showed that films reflecting differing non white cultures could bring in massive numbers at the box office, which was something that, old white people didn't believe.
Yeah.
And the second was Crazy Rich Asians, which also famously starred Aquafina, which cemented the idea that it wasn't just different cultures, but Asian culture specifically could do the big bucks at the box office too. So the development process started in late 2018 after being fast tracked by Kevin Feige. David Callahan was recruited to start on the script, and then Destin Daniel Cretton signed on as director about 4 months later and began working on the script with Callahan. Andrew Lanham then joined a little bit later in the process to help polish what was already there. One of the other key crew choices for this film, I think, was the director of photography, Bill Pope. And apart from the fact that he shot some of my favorite movies like Bound and Pilgrim,
Oh, I love Scott
Scott
Pilgrim.
Pilgrim versus the World, he was also responsible for Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2 and 3. And most importantly, he shot the original Matrix trilogy. So Destin Cretton he knew how to shoot outstanding martial arts sequences.
Yes.
Those sequences were designed by stunt coordinator Brad Allen and by some key members of Jackie Chan's stunt team who tried to combine multiple styles of martial arts into a combination of fights that kind of reflected them all. And there are definitely some we'll talk about that have specific influences that
You
you
can
can
definitely
clearly see.
feel the Jackie Chan some team influence in some of the. Yeah, you completely see it. Completely see it.
Yeah, yeah. I have to confess, I don't know much about martial arts,
No.
so I I can't pretend that I identify all of the different styles and how they squished them all together,
Are
but
you
it
sure you're
does
not like the
feel
bus guy? You know, you've seen some
exactly.
kung fu
I,
and you
I
can try and grade them.
exactly. I mean, I could, but I would be just as good as everyone thinks he is.
Yes.
But regardless, it does feel like they've done an amazing job of putting them all together. It They sell it very well.
Mhm.
And just incidentally, as a side note, the film is dedicated to Brad Allen, who died from a sudden heart attack a month before the film was released. We need to talk about Tony Leung too, who obviously he plays Wenwu. This was his first English speaking role, but for people who don't know him in anything other than this film, he is a huge, huge star in China. He's right up there in the same way that, a Tom Cruise or Brad Pitt or Robert Downey Jr. are over here. Most notably for audiences here who pick up on some foreign films,
Mm.
he starred in the film that would help launch John Woo's Hollywood career, which is the 1990s classic Hard Boiled, as well as playing the lead in Infernal Affairs, which is the film that Martin Scorsese and William Monahan would adapt into The Departed. The other interesting casting note, of course, is Michelle Yeoh,
Legend.
because she is an
Yeah.
absolute
Yeah.
legend. Um, for the eagle-eyed and elephant memoried of you, you will remember that she popped up right at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 in the funeral scene
Scene of Yondu at the end, yeah.
as Alita O'Gord. And I don't know what the decision making process was, or if there were plans for the Alita character at any point, but I feel like they made the right choice here to sort of kind of just ignore it.
I mean, she was in it was the end credit scene for like 10 seconds, so
Yes,
fine, yeah.
yes, exactly. And you can't have a movie that has this sort of focus
Yeah,
at this kind of scale
without having her in there.
without putting her in it. You just can't. So that's a slightly epic movie related introduction. There's just so much interesting stuff. And I've left out so much interesting stuff as well, but I'll see if I can sprinkle some of it in as we go through. But Dave, shall we uh, give you what I guess is an equally complicated and potentially problematic comic history?
Kind of, yes. So we'll yeah, I'll just dive into my 5 pages of notes, but editing on the fly, and I will apologise in advance for the massive amount of times I will mispronounce any names in this completely. And so also it was interesting for me doing my kind of due diligence on Shang-Chi, because obviously I'm aware of him because I'm a big fan of like the Daredevils and the kind of Marvel Knights type things, of which he would pop up every now and again. So I knew of Shang-Chi, but I didn't know a whole lot more about him because, like I said, I never really picked up his actual titles. So he was always a supporting character or a guest character, or especially like a crossover or something like that. So it was really interesting kind of having a little dive into it. So, in a weird way, it's not going to be a massively long list because also in this film, it seems a lot of the characters either actually didn't have a massive amount of background for me to pick through or were kind of amalgamations of several random characters because like I say, he's been around for like he first appeared in like Special Marvel Edition issue 15 in 1973. So he's had a history, and the character was he's the son of Fu Manchu, who was, let's just say, a controversial villain licensed by Marvel at the time. So hence why they changed that in the film. I mean, the story's pretty much the same. He was raised to be an assassin, believing his father was noble. Then he learns that Fu Manchu's true nature. He's a baddie. Shang-Chi rebelled, fought against his father's kind of criminal empire. So in the comics, he's called the Master of Kung Fu. He's one of the greatest martial artists on Earth, and can even take down like superhuman opponents in combat. He's the master of the Way of the Deadly Hand is his kind of fighting style, which is based off the Deadly Hand kind of assassin group. But yeah, so he's had a huge kind of varied kind of career, so to speak. He's been on the Avengers, Heroes for Hire, quite especially. He's briefly hosted the Phoenix Force. He's been involved with Pym particles. He's obviously had the 10 rings, which I'll go into in a bit, but he's got powers as well. So initially, he's just like a super martial artist, basically, as in he's like the peak of human kind of physiology and stuff like that without being enhanced. But then he can manipulate his chi. So he can do a lot of the kind of 10 ringy type powers, strength, speed, durability, and stamina and stuff like that from chi manipulation. And then at some point he gets like he's also had revisions and stuff like someone gets kind of a low level healing factor because of his dad and stuff like that. He gets the 10 rings at some point, which and therefore gets a lot of power on top of that because they're a little bit different in the comics, which we'll touch on a bit. But that grants him, strength, durability, speed, stamina. He can also like make portals, and his overall appearance transformed into look like his father. On his mother's side, he got some kind of psionic abilities, so he could mentally communicate with his blood relatives, so he can like talk to the ghost of his dad and grandfather in the comics, stuff like that occasionally. And he's also got some kind of resistance to telepathic shenanigans, but not sure if it's his martial art training that gives him this or his 10 rings inheritance, stuff like that. But in the comics, they basically changed for the film. Fu Manchu was replaced by Wen Wu, which was an original kind of character invented for the MCU because Marvel lost the license to Fu Manchu, and because of the kind of racist connotations. Like if you read the old comic, look at the old comics, it's a very, 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 very stereotypical. It's really bad when you read it. So that's kind of just a brief Shang-Chi dive. So Wen Wu, who's the Mandarin. So as I said earlier, he's kind of an original, not an original, but yeah, he is. He's kind of an amalgamation of the Mandarin character and Fu Manchu in this thing. I can't remember if we spoke about the Well, no, we would have spoken about the Mandarin in Iron Man 3, as in the actual Mandarin. But
Yes.
so just a kind of brief. I mean, Mandarin first appeared in Tales of Suspense issue 50 in 1964, and he's a kind of brilliant scientist and master martial artist, and he gets his powers from the 10 alien rings he finds from a crashed spaceship, and each ring has its own specific power. So, like Ice Blast, mind control, disintegration beams, blah 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 blah. And he's classically he's an Iron Man's arch nemesis. So that's kind of his main thing. So they kind of melded him, and they do make a little joke, which is quite appropriate about obviously the Iron Man 3 kind of twist and stuff like that. But and the Wenwu's 10 rings are modeled more after more kind of iron rings used in the martial art was Hungar, I believe, rather than finger rings basically, and they don't get the elemental powers. And apparently, and this is a completely valid thing, they made those changes to also so they don't look like the Infinity Gems,
Yeah.
because we've done that already. We've had rings or things on a gauntlet, so this makes them different and visually very different as well, which was a good idea. And then so Shang-Chi's mother, to be fair, again, I don't have much on her because in the comic, she was unnamed for a very long time. And later stories refer to her just simply as Shang-Chi's American mother or unknown mother. And in the original Master of Kung Fu comics in the 1970s, she was a white American woman who was genetically selected by Fu Manchu to produce a perfect heir, who was Shang-Chi. She had no
Lovely.
real say in the matter. She was essentially brainwashed or coerced into bearing the child. So,
Excellent.
exactly. So after he was born and raised to a certain age, Fu Manchu kept her hidden away, and Shang-Chi rarely interacted with her. And over time, Marvel de-emphasized this storyline, especially as the Fu Manchu rights got messy, and it's just all a bit like, you don't need that. It's all a bit
Yeah.
messy.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's essentially, so Ying Li is a wholly original MCU creation. She doesn't exist in the comics. And related to that, Katie. Also original to the MCU. She does not have a direct counterpart in the comics. She's your film protagonist character who can be the audience.
Yes.
She can realize his background and stuff and understand these things. That's what she's for. She may be slightly inspired by some of Shang-Chi's orbit characters like Lee Ku-woo, who's an MI6 agent and an ally of Shang-Chi, but basically Katie's a fresh movie creation. So next on the list, his sister Xiao Ling. Not much to say on her. Again, she's loosely based on several characters. Shang-Chi has loads of either half sisters, sisters, and retcon stuff like that. So yeah, literally, she's basically in the comics. Yeah, Shang-Chi has multiple half siblings, including her, who sometimes oppose him, sometimes aid him. So they kind of again had a bit of a free round with him. So hilariously, there's not much really for me to go into without being ridiculously confusing and go through 8 different characters, kind of thing. So I'm not even going to bother.
Yeah. Let's skip on.
Yeah,
Skip
so
on.
we'll move on with that. Another one, Razor Fist, William Young, as the comic character's name, first appeared in The Master of Kung Fu in issue 29 in 1975, and he is, again, my I've got like 4 lines on him. He's basically a mercenary with literal blades replacing his hands. Sometimes both hands, sometimes one. There's not much more to him than that. He's an opponent of Shang-Chi. Eventually he dies. That's it. That's it.
I like to think he's also got like a spoon fist
Yeah,
as
so he
well
can
that
eat.
he can have. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so he's a baddie. That's it. He just turns up to fight Shang-Chi occasionally. Next, we have Death Dealer. So in the Funky Mask. So he appeared in Master of Kung Fu issue 115 in 1982. His real name is Li Qingling, and he was a brutal, ruthless agent working for MI6, for British intelligence. So he was secretly loyal to Fu Manchu, who was obviously Shang-Chi's villainous father in the comics, and he is known for being excessively violent. Even MI6 found him to be too brutal. So after being exposed, Fu Manchu turned him into an elite assassin named Death Dealer and tasked specifically with killing Shang-Chi. He's super skilled in hand-to-hand combat and weaponry, especially knives and swords, which we see in the film, and he wore his scary, skull-like mask and dark ninja-style armor, again from the film. He also rarely speaks. He's a stoic, silent killer archetype and has a deep hatred to Shang-Chi. So again, really great comic to film transition because he doesn't speak in the film.
Yeah.
That's great. So yeah, he's kind of spot on in that respect. We have a brief honourable mention for the Great Protector, who is the dragon, who again is made up for the film, but resembles Fing Fang Foom, which is a big famous Marvel alien dragon. They never name it directly, so yeah. So the dragon is not directly named in the comics. It's just inspired by Chinese dragons from myth, so all the long kind of snaky dragons. Basically, noble water-based creatures associated with weather and prosperity, not the fire-breathing Western dragon. So again, fits perfectly kind of in this kind of film. I will give honourable mentions to, rather than characters, locations. So Tai Lao, which is the comic version, actually is a Thor thing. So first appeared in Thor in the 1980s, issue 301. And it's one of several mystical pocket dimensions tied to kind of Chinese mythology. So it's part of the gods of China pantheon overseen by the Jade Emperor, who they didn't deliberately avoid mentioning, meaning it may pop up in a future thing, who knows? But in the comics, Tai Lao is a spiritual realm where Chinese gods and mythological creatures reside. It's depicted as lush, peaceful, and home to powerful magical beings. So, again, pretty spot on. And it acts as protector of humanity and its spiritual balance, but rarely interacts with Earth. But again, it's a Thor thing. He goes there a few times because there's the Chinese gods, like the Asgardians. They're in that similar vein. So, so it's not really a Shang-Chi thing in the slightest.
Interesting.
Which is quite cool. You have old Morris, the Jin is a real creature from Chinese myth. The 4-winged beast that loves to dance and sing, and their mythology considered chaotic but not evil. They represent randomness and natural spirit energy. But they are actually, in fact, all the magical kind of creatures in Tai Lao are related to Chinese mythology. So they are actual things, which is really cool. And also a quick one, the actual 10 Rings first appeared in Tales of Suspense issue 50, which is 1964, so they've been around a while. Mandarin discovers the crashed alien ship from the race known as the Makluans. I bet I didn't get that right. But they're basically dragon aliens. So it's possible there's a link to these aliens still exists, because in the post-credit scene, Wong mentions they're emitting a mysterious beacon. So you never know, we may get some sort of tie into these alien dudes. But yeah, basically, so that's my kind of long rambling comic book thing. I think I got everyone important. I think
Wasn't
so.
as long as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, no,
But
not
yes,
bad.
I think you did touch on all of the key characters. It's such an interesting mix of specific comic characters, standalone movie characters,
Yep.
and then sort of stuff that fits in a bit of a grey area in the
Yeah,
middle, where it's like inspired by the comics, but in a different version.
yeah.
And
So
I like it.
I like it.
Excellent. Well, on that note,
On to the
shall we
breakdown.
get into our breakdown?
Yes, let's do it. So we open the film, as any good film has, with some narration. So Michelle Yeoh starts basically telling us the story of the Ten Rings. She explains that these Ten Rings are ancient weapons of, unknown origin that give the user immense power and immortality. She tells us how Tony Leung's character Xu Wenwu discovers the rings and uses them to build his criminal empire. He topples governments and amasses wealth and influence. It starts off with kind of an awesome scene of him using the rings, taking this whole kind of settlement, and then we get a kind of montage, a little mini montage, because I love a montage of the Ten Rings attacking across different eras, and then we skip to 1996, where Wenwu has heard about Ta Lo, which is a mystical village hidden away somewhere that has, magic more powerful than the Ten Rings can grant. So, the standard film thing, we've already got the hook of where he wants to go. He goes into the forest to find it, but it doesn't work. He gets kind of ejected quite
Does not
quickly.
work.
Does not work. Does not work. He, all his minions are killed or get rid of, but he goes on his own. And then at the gateway to Ta Lo, he's stopped by Ying Li, played by Fala Shen, who is a guardian of this village. And they engage in a very, very cool, graceful, like dance, like martial art duel. When we're starting off like aggressively, but then his hard style is matched by her soft style,
Yeah.
and she kind of disarms him and using all the kind of wide circles and very
Yeah, and like power of the wind
yep,
and things like that as
very
well. And
nature
it's
and
such a
energy.
beautiful fight.
It's really shot well.
The sequences, I mean, it's the first
Yeah,
illustration of Bill Pope doing what Bill Pope does,
yeah,
but also showing that they really have got the hand on how to shoot this, but also just the way that the fights are designed and how beautifully they come out, and the stories that they manage to tell. There's that like wonderful moment when everything slows right
yeah,
down and they sort of see each other, and you get just that little hint of a smile from both
yes,
of them in that kind of flirtatious sort of way.
yeah,
And it's so beautifully shot. And after that fight sequence, we kind of get to the settling down of things, and we meet baby Shang-Chi first, followed very quickly by this sort of jump in age to the young Shang-Chi, who's played by
yeah.
Jaden Shang. And we learn a couple of plot points which may become important later in the film. The first is that Ying Li's powers, as it were, that they come from the magic of the Great Protector, and they are more significant and bigger than the Ten Rings, and that you can't use the magic of the Great Protector outside of Ta Lo. So she has given up her powers to live with her husband in the normal
The normal
world.
world. And isn't there a scene with him putting his 10 rings away as well? So it's like they've both given up there. I can't
Yeah,
remember if that is now or
I
later on.
think
Yeah,
that comes in a little bit later, but yeah, these little pieces of flashback come up a few times,
yeah,
and so we see different parts of this story at different moments across the film. And then, importantly, before we get to the end of this section, she gives the young Shang-Chi a
plot device.
pendant,
I
a
mean,
green jade pendant, so he can always find his way home.
and you 100% know as soon as you see that that's going to come up very quickly
I
in the
think
film.
I think if you don't realize it's
Yeah.
going to be important immediately, you realize 10 seconds later
Yes.
when we see the adult Shang-Chi still wearing the necklace.
Yes.
It's like,
Yes.
oh, okay, yeah. I mean, it is a nice shorthand as well for transferring us into
Yes, so
the
you notice the
present
adult straight away.
day,
Yeah,
it's like, oh, okay, so that is
that's the
also
same person.
Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
It's just the older version played by Simu Liu. He's living in San Francisco. He is living in a garage,
Yes.
and he's now calling himself Sean. He does a little waking up in the morning montage that includes a quick workout because we need to know that he's very buff.
Of
And
course.
then he heads out, and we get a really lovely little kind of fake out where it looks like he's pulling up somewhere in a sports car, and it turns out that actually it's not him, it's a random dude, and he is
He's the
actually
valet.
a valet.
Yeah.
And one of the important things here is when he greets the guy getting out of his car, that's 10 minutes and 44 seconds into the movie, and it's the first word we hear in English in this film. And it's such a brave decision to start a Marvel film without a single word of English, and for 10 minutes just making people read subtitles. And we all know how many people detest reading
Subtitles.
subtitles. So it's an incredible decision, and it kind of sets out their stall from the very beginning of saying, like, when characters would be talking Mandarin to each other, they will talk Mandarin.
Yeah, which
And
is really
when
nice.
they would be talking English, they talk English rather than fudging the whole thing like so many films do, where they're just like, oh, they've spoken a bit of Mandarin, they can switch to English now, it'll be fine.
Well, like Hunt for Red October when they suddenly just all just turn to speak English.
No, nothing like that. Nothing like that. We also get the introduction to Katie, played by Aquafina. I never know how to say her name
Yeah,
properly
I've already
because
wussed out saying it several
I
times.
I think because it's obviously because she's American, I think it's meant to sound in an American accent like Aquafina,
Yeah.
but it's spelled in a way that works for an American accent, but for an English accent, it's awkward, almost literally awkward, because AWK is an or sound for us. And so it's Aquafina, or Katie, as I think we will
Well, as we move
resolve
forward, it'll
to
be
now.
Katie.
Yes.
All the thing is, she's great, very distinctive voice, and like I say, you haven't seen it, but I loved her in in Raya and the Last Dragon.
Yes, yes. And we pick up on the fact that Katie is an expert driver, which won't come back
No, of
later
course not.
in any way. That then takes us into sort of their origin story as friends, and they're talking to their friends Sue, played by Stephanie Shu,
Yeah.
and John, played by Kunal Dudhekar, including the fact that when she faces down attackers of some form or another, like the school bully, she just shouts Hotel California in their face.
Yep.
Or lyrics, not just the words Hotel California, but lyrics.
The lyrics of the song. And
Again,
it will pop up in
not
the film.
something that's going to come up later.
Yes, yes, exactly. That's never going to, like on the bus, it's to California and stuff. And there's loads of stuff here.
Yeah. There's an important part here where they remind us that we are in the post-blip
Blip. Yes, we get the
world,
mention, don't we?
which is sort of Sue's way of essentially telling them they need to grow up and
Grow
do
up, yeah.
something proper with their lives. So Sean and Katie basically go to karaoke almost in protest.
Yes.
they're like,
Or
they're like telling us that we shouldn't and that we're not grown up, but essentially we'll prove them right and enjoy ourselves. Then we have the best karaoke montage in
yes.
history, which is so nicely put together. So we get a little bit of A Whole New World from Aladdin. We get a little bit of Old Town Road from Lil Nas X. And we get a little bit of I Don't Want to Miss a Thing by Aerosmith.
Yep.
And for all of the non-Aerosmith fans or people who haven't watched the what's the film that song is taken from, uh you know, the one
What,
with the
Armageddon?
asteroid, that's the one, Armageddon.
I was going to say, I wonder how long I can string them along for.
Just leave me hanging. um for people who don't know the song, the next lyrics that they cut away from are "fall asleep," which is obviously when they cut to the two of them asleep
Asleep.
on
Yep.
the couch in the karaoke room. The next morning, we meet Katie's family, who are having what seems like kind of a traditional Chinese breakfast,
Yeah.
except for there's a box of
Lucky
Lucky
Charms.
Charms on the table. And we have Weipo, who is played by Sai Chin, and she's preparing gifts for Day of the Dead, which Shang-Chi is gently sort of taking the piss out of
Yes,
in
in a
a kind
very,
of,
very nice, respectful way. Yeah.
yes, of, you know, cigarettes and Funyuns.
Yes.
Mrs. Chen, played by Jodie Long, is complaining about Katie not having a proper job. And then her brother Rei Hua, played by Dallas Liu, is also sort of piling in on her
Yes.
about
But
her
also,
job
yeah.
and everything else. And they have a nice little exchange on what she should be doing and what he should be doing. And yeah, it's a lovely little kind of scene
It,
that works beautifully to kind of point out the fact that Sean clearly doesn't have his own family and he's kind of
yes.
been taken in by Mrs. Chen and everyone else.
And isn't it they kind of like name drop things like they both got degrees and, you know, they're both, it's kind of highlighting that she's really smart and stuff like that, but they're
Yeah.
all, like you say, just wasting their time. Yeah. And then, but then we move on to them getting the bus to work, which is, I love this scene. But we get a bit of, obviously, again, dialogue, you know, with Katie referring to the girl on her laptop doing the research paper.
That is exactly the daughter my mom wishes came out of her vagina.
And, you know, quite loudly. And the woman,
Yes.
like, obviously just looks around and she was like, sorry about her.
And
So it's just that kind of like
we've
cool
all
relationship.
got a friend who's a little bit like that.
Yeah. A little bit too loud and in
And you're
public.
like, please don't say it that loud.
Yeah. And you're like, I feel like I'm just apologizing to my friend all the time. But yeah, then they get like fairly quickly confronted by the you know, gangster kind of dude played by Benny Wang, who demands Sean's very important pendant, obviously. So he you know, kind of he refuses. Katie is like, I swear she was about to break into a song of Hotel California. But yeah, no, they basically, you know, kind of face off against each other, and Katie's like, what are you on about? He's you know, he can't fight. And then as soon as the Benny Wang guy, you know, pushes Katie and hurts her, Chunk immediately punches him across half the bus.
Yes.
And
Yes.
he just breaks out the grip and just takes him down. And like Katie's like proper shocked. But then we get a very awesome martial arts scene, kind of thing, which is very much the Jackie Chan-esque fight with these guys, because, you know, where the whole, he kind of half takes his top off and gets it caught around the person and then puts his top back on while
Yes.
all that kind of stuff, which is, I love. And you get the little commentary from the bus dude filming them, you know, about how, you know, like yourself with,
I actually did take a little bit of martial arts as a youth, so I'm going to try and grade this fight as we're going.
that type
Yes.
of thing.
Yes, exactly. So
yeah.
this is an established character in the MCU now, because so his name is Clev.
Oh, this is Clev, yeah, go on.
He's played by Zach Cherry,
Yeah.
who people might know if they've watched Severance on Apple TV. But he also played a street vendor in Spider-Man Homecoming. So he's now sort of an established comedy character in
Nice.
this now, which I just really like. It made me smile.
But it's quite cool because then we get the, I mean, actually, like, weirdly, him taking the video is instrumental later in a way, but it's one of these good audience commentaries on the cool martial arts thing. And then we get our, like I say, first introduction to Razor Fist, played by Florian Muntoon.
Muntianu.
Oh, you've even written the pronunciation thing, and I didn't read it. Didn't read it. I just went with it. Yeah, well done me. So
I had to look it up. To be fair, I did not know how to say it.
Muntianu.
Muntianu.
Muntianu. There you go. You're way better than me. But yeah, again, we get the kind of the awesomely, really impractical. But at least he's only got one, so he's got a proper hand. That helps with his sword hand.
I think that's mostly just so he can like steady himself on the bus.
Maybe that's it. Yeah.
Because otherwise, it's going to be bad if he just keeps cutting through everything he tries to hold on to.
Well, I'd say it's more how can you pick up anything to eat, but like kind of thing. But anyway, it's a cool fight. It's a proper kick-ass fight.
It's amazing.
We get lots. Again, it's very Jackie Chan-esque with lots of bouncing off the environment and all that kind of stuff. The driver gets kind of knocked out, and obviously it gives Katie something to do then, because as a great driver, she takes over that. We get some.
There's also up to this point, up to the point when Katie gets something to do.
Yeah.
There's that wonderful sense of kind of outrage that she has.
Oh, like, who are you?
Yeah, and this sort of, she's almost pissed off that he hasn't told her about an ability to do martial arts or whatever.
Yes. Yeah, but like I say, it's a great little fight, and they kind of go all over the place. Eventually it ends with the, wait for my signal, and you get that kind of awesome fight where he gets everyone into the one half of the bus, and, Ray's fist kind of like, threatening him, you and your sister deserve this, and just the way he just casually reaches up and just pulls the bus stop signal.
Yeah.
Really cool.
There's a great reference there, as well as the Jackie Chan stuff, when he tells her to kind of wait for his signal, and then you see from side on, he's sort of making his way along the bus, beating up the bad guys. It's an homage to The Raid, which has a wonderful sequence exactly like that in it.
Nice.
And so I loved that in the middle of this sort of very Jackie Chan fight, they threw in this other brilliant reference to a foreign language film.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly, it's a really great thing. I love the scene so much, but it ends with they survive. The bus is in half, but they realise that they got away with the pendant. Then we end up back at Shang-Chi's kind of apartment, where he kind of briefly gives her a bit of tells Katie he's got to go to
Macau
because he received a postcard from his sister, kind of thing, and he thinks that's where Razor Fist will be going next. So Katie's livid with him, and basically invites herself along, and kind of like she insists she's going on. She's not going without him, kind of thing.
Yes.
He can't stop her, basically.
So that takes us into a flashback into his childhood. It's worth saying, I think, at this point as well, that this is a completely new structure for the MCU. We haven't really had a sort of flashback heavy movie.
Yeah.
Obviously, the first kind of half hour of Iron Man was a bit of a flashbacky thing.
But it was done in a different way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is the first time we've really kind of intercut between kind of present day and then flashbacks of childhood and everything else. It's usually not a structure I particularly like.
Yeah.
But I do quite like the way that they unfold this story over time, and how every time you go back and forth, things change ever so subtly that either you haven't noticed before, or it's told from a different perspective than before.
Yeah.
It's a really nice way of introducing different elements. And so I had to double check this, but when we go back at this point to see the young Shang-Chi again, this is the first time we know he has a sister.
Yeah.
Obviously, he mentions it in the previous scene, but we haven't seen her before.
No, it's like they're drip feeding these characters in. Yeah.
And so suddenly he's called by his father and sort of leaves her behind watching. So this is the young Charlene, played by Elodie Fong, and she's kind of left out of everything.
Yeah.
When we introduces the young Shang-Chi to the Death Dealer, who's played by Andy Lee.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, if that's not a scary person to learn martial
To
arts
learn
from,
martial
I
arts, to
don't know.
say, yeah.
It's like, hey, here's a dude who's wearing a mask that is was designed to be very reminiscent of the Chinese opera.
Yep.
He's wearing a scary mask that he doesn't ever take off. His name is Death Dealer.
He never
and
speaks. He's not like Flowers McGee.
Yes.
You know, he's
Yes. He is very much not the Mr. Miyagi of this martial arts training
Yes.
regime. And he is incredibly strict.
Yeah.
And we see the young Shang-Chi punching a pillar,
yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
And that then morphs into the teenage Shang-Chi, who's played by Arnold's son, doing exactly the same thing. We see Charlene watching him train, and then she sees him training with the rope dart and basically just starts copying him on her own separately and secretly, so no one sees her doing it. We kind of get a full montage of him learning and training and doing all of the things he needs to do and getting better and better. We get to a point where Simu Liu's adult Shang-Chi, who's narrated this whole sequence, tells us that he's kind of given a mission by his dad to go and kill the person that they found who was responsible for his mother's death. And then that story is just suddenly interrupted by this flight attendant being very flight attendant-y. And if you haven't seen it, go and do a quick Google search for Eddie Izzard Cake or Death, and this scene just made me think of that immediately. I'll link it in the show notes as well, but it is absolutely worth watching because it's very much the same style of comedy here.
And I love their kind of their chemistry as friends, kind of thing, like with the
Shang.
Yeah.
You changed your name from Shang to Sean.
Yes.
And they and he's like no, and you know, pretends to put his headphones. It's like, I'm not listening to you, basically, and stuff like that. Yeah, I can hear you. Know me here. Yeah, it's just a real good kind of relationship, I think.
And it's another thing, as with Katie's real actress name, it's another thing that doesn't quite work in like UK English, because Shang-Chi to us sounds nothing like Sean.
Yeah.
Which is how we pronounce the name that he chose.
Yes.
But obviously American English makes Shang and Sean very similar.
Very similar, yeah.
But yes, I agree with you. It just the way that he's sort of telling this very earnest story, and then it gets interrupted, and then he turns around and goes, "Oh yeah, by the way, my name isn't Sean," and rather than like getting angry again, she just laughs at him and she's like, "What kind of name is that?" And it's absolutely brilliant.
But so after that we end up in Macau. See, said it right.
Good job.
But they arrive, you know, tracking the address on this, you know, mysterious postcard, ending up in the underground in a skyscraper building fight club, you know, with a bit of jokes about the quality of the lift. Elevator or whatever. What do they say? What's the American? It is lift, isn't it?
Elevator.
Elevator. There you go. Elevator. Yes. I was gonna say, weird. But they're greeted by John, who's played by Ronnie Chieng. Essentially, he's Shang-Chi is tricked into kind of fighting. He's roped into fighting as bus guy. We get a nice little, like you say, Easter eggs as we're walking through the fight scenes, where you see a kind of a Black Widow fighting an extremis enhanced type fighter in a little thing, and then the extra bonus Easter eggs, we see Benedict Wong, best character in the MCU, fighting the Abomination, voiced by Tim Roth. Obviously, first time we're seeing the Abomination since Hulk, the Hulk film, and this time he's got his proper ears.
Yeah, so he's been like redesigned.
Yeah,
hasn't
he's been refreshed, he's been updated, and he looks more in line. And obviously now the CGI is a bit better and stuff like that.
Yes,
kind of thing.
Too.
But yeah, you know, they've kind of finished their fight, but then when you see them behind the scenes, they clearly are kind of in cahoots, which picks up in the She-Hulk randomly. But yeah, either way, he gets stuck in the ring, and we get the nice little joke with
What happened to your shirt?
which is
Yes.
a reference because originally that's basically how he appeared. He was basically topless, and which is also an homage to the very very obvious inspiration of Bruce Lee, who would
Yes.
frequently be shirtless when when in combat kind of thing. So basically, he finds out that he's fighting his sister, played by
Munga Jang.
Munga Jang. See, I doubted myself.
You
Whom
did.
he hadn't seen in like over a decade. So yeah, she beats him.
She does. Although,
Well,
yeah,
yeah.
to be fair,
To be
like
fair,
they seemed evenly matched,
yes,
and then he stopped fighting, and she kicks him.
she
in the
just kicks him in the
face,
face.
which is a wonderful comedy beat
Yeah, yeah,
that I really like. That he's having like a very earnest moment,
yeah.
and you can see her like
Mulling it
thinking
over.
about it for a second, and then just the like speed and ferocity of this
Which she
kick
knocks
to
her brother
his
out.
face was
Yeah.
absolutely brilliant.
And then the comedy straight after of her collecting her winnings for
Yes.
betting on the other person.
Yes.
And he's like, "Did you bet on her?" Yes, which was really good.
Yeah.
This is where again they're drip feeding the backstory. So we realise that Shang-Chi left her behind as a child, basically, and after 6 years, she was like, "Yeah, he's not coming back," and she got away herself,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah, and again, it's another one of those things where Katie is the vehicle through which we can have
Yes.
backstory explained.
As the audience, she is the audience character, isn't she? Where she is used in every situation where we need some backstory. These guys obviously know the backstory, but we, the audience, need to find it out. So
Yeah.
Katie is the vehicle for that. And then after the kind of this back and forth, the reunion is interrupted by the Ten Rings attacking. You know, there's that realization, isn't it? Where he says, "Oh, you sent me the postcard." What postcard? I didn't send a postcard. Dun dun dun. Ten Rings attack.
And
Yeah,
it's always really, really nice of the bad guys to wait until precisely the
when they
moment
realise
that someone says, "Oh,
But
I
never
don't
sent a
know what this
postcard.
thing is," or "I wonder who did this thing," and then they attack.
Because it would be awkward if it happened like the next morning.
yeah.
But yeah, either way, it's cool. Loads of masked operatives rock up. You know, Sis and everyone they run away and basically almost leave Shang-Chi and Katie alone.
Well, they literally do. They just abandon them.
We're off. See ya. And then they kind of escape out the side of the building in a very traditional, I guess, martial arts film, fight on a bamboo scaffolding type thing.
Yeah. You can't really go to somewhere like Macau without having a fight
without
on
having
bamboo
it.
scaffolding.
Exactly. So we get a nice kind of high rise thing where they're obviously and you know they're having this very cool fight, and Shaoling turns up. Shaoling, that is right, isn't it? Yeah. Shaoling. There you go. Turns up again to kind of save Shan again. She doesn't abandon him in the end, but does a bit of like a well, now you know how it feels type sisterly thing, sibling thing.
But it sort of feels almost like she actually comes out to save Katie, and then kind of gets sucked into the fight. Almost.
Possibly a bit, yeah. I mean, I think also she appreciates that Sean can probably take care of himself.
Yes.
Because he's perfectly capable of it. But yeah, we get the dramatic, you know, falling from the breaking piece of bamboo, and then she gets saved. But then Death Dealer who drives, nicks her pendant, and then they have a call running through the building scene where Shang chases him, and then he's about to escape to the helicopter, and then boom, the standard off-camera leap where he stops him, and then they just start having a kick-ass fight. He just takes him down, and Wenwu dramatically appears with the rings, and everyone else is in prison.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And the way that they shot this sequence was incredible. So they built this kind of 3 or 4 story tall section of the outside of the building with the scaffold and everything else. But it could tilt to 45 degrees.
Right.
So if you imagine the sort of the window side leaning 45-degree backwards.
Yeah.
And what it meant was it could slow down the pace at which things happened. And so when people were kind of dropping from a great height, if you tilt it slightly, it's easier for people to kind of control their movement.
Right.
So you can achieve things that you wouldn't necessarily be able to achieve, because rigging someone on wires is a lot harder to do through scaffolding.
Yeah.
And so there were all kinds of different sort of adjustments that they could make to the wall to make it easier or harder for things to happen. And you really can't tell that they're doing anything like that with it. There is one moment where you can see Munga push herself off the window in a way that you wouldn't
Do if it
if
was
it was
right.
if it was vertical,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And if you watch really closely, there's one moment where she gets kind of pushed against the window and pushes herself back up again, and it's sort of almost a press up like motion.
Yeah.
But other than that, you really can't tell how they're kind of putting it all together and making it all work. And the only thing that annoys me about the sequence is that Katie falls off, and she clearly falls like half the height of the building. And then, then when Xiaoling catches her, she's fallen like
falls 3
four
planks.
stories.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, well, okay then. But it is cool. It is a really, really cool sequence, and the scrap with the Death Dealer is really nice, and sort of puts you slightly in mind of the first fight that Black Widow has with Taskmaster
Yes.
in the Black Widow movie,
Yes.
because they obviously Death Dealer trained Shang-Chi, so they have the same fight style.
Yes.
And are completely evenly matched in what they're doing, and then Shang-Chi just gets the better of him.
Yes.
When Wu arrives and just
stops the whole thing. And it's such a slick fight as well, especially with the backdrop of the lights and the helicopter out the back, stuff like that. It's so stylishly done, but it's it's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
But when Ru arrives to stop it, and then he kind of takes the kind of party to the Ten Rings compound. With the girls being sent to the room.
Yeah, which is just, again, such a simple, quick way of communicating the sort of complete disregard that Wenwu has for Xiaoling.
And it also gives us the opportunity to then, so Xiaoling can tell Katie about her childhood, underlining being ignored by Wenwu, and again explaining a sense, clarifying the whole she taught herself by watching everyone else before running away to start her underground fight club at 16. If my dad won't let me into his, I'll build it myself.
Yes, yeah, exactly. The line that both cements who she is as a character, and obviously will then come around again at the end of the film.
Yep.
At the very, very end of the film.
But we get more flashbacks with, like I say, Wenwu, turning to Shang-Chi to practice his English because he needs to, strengthen his mind as well as his body, and kind of, glance over to the Ten Rings saying, if you want to have them, you have to show me you're strong enough to carry them.
And this is a moment that really highlighted for me that point of they will use Mandarin at the appropriate time and English at the appropriate time. And so they make it clear how Sean can speak such good English. And also that when Wu is capable of speaking really good English, because we haven't really heard him talking properly yet.
No.
Like, he's had a few words, but that's about it.
Yeah, true.
And then it leads on to the dinner scene where once again they speak English because Katie doesn't really speak Chinese.
So it's appropriate, yeah.
If Katie wasn't there, that the whole scene would be conducted in Mandarin.
Yeah, completely. Which is really, and then again we get, now we're in a different scene. We're over the dinner. It's another place for more. So it's nice how they're giving you all the backstory, but they're not shoving it down your throat in one lump.
Mm-hmm.
They're spreading it out nicely, and they're doing it in different ways, in different scenes, either with flashbacks or again we're using Katie as the means for this. She gives us her Chinese name, Rui Wen, and which leads on to the importance of names, the explanation, which then we get the nice little nod to the Mandarin in Iron Man 3 and how they, took his legend and they take the mick about how the Mandarin is a chicken dish and stuff like
Yes.
that, which is
Yes.
also a very valid critique of the very old comic book. Let's just, because
Yes.
it sounds like this, so he's a martial artist, so he must be Mandarin. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously, Trevor hasn't turned up yet, but if we slightly segue, because remember, there is that random short film. I say film, sorry. It's like literally, it's like a few scenes
Yeah, it's the one
with
shot.
Trevor, the one shot. That's it, with Trevor in prison and saying, and they keep referencing the real Mandarin and stuff like that, which is a really nice way of, like I remember that when he was talking about the Mandarin, but at this point, don't think I realised that Trevor was going to be in it, but
Yes.
and we get to see another kind of flashback into the kind of courtship between Wenwu and Ying Li, with him being taught some of her fighting style, and then we see, as we see them walking away from Tao Lo, and again, it was the flashback story of them getting married, living at the Ten Rings compound, which is kind of transformed into a nice warm family home rather than the cold assassin palace that it was.
Yeah, it sort of seems to be like pure concrete.
Yeah, just concrete. We get another little montage of the family. We get, Shang-Chi's, Jay Ling's sister, happy family time. And then we kind of move into the big old scroll room because he was saying about his, obsession with this.
And this is back in the sort of present
day, yeah. It's where he reveals that he believes that she isn't dead, but being hidden behind the gate. And so he needs to kind of is setting out his kind of film goal. He wants to get there and rescue his wife. That's when he needs the pendants. And yeah, he explains that the elders, the reason they didn't live there was because the elders didn't consider him worthy enough to live there. So he basically blames it all on them for not allowing them to live in there, because then they would have been, safe and happy.
Yes, and there was no way people would have been able to reach them.
Yeah, because they'd be completely irreachable. Not a word. But
it works for me.
Then he uses his pendants to do the magic-y thing to reveal the magic map. It looks really good, doesn't it?
It looks really good, and it's such a clever way of illustrating what it is they're trying to say. There are so many films and filmmakers who would have just had him like pull scrolls from the wall and like unroll them and pointing to this bit and this bit and this bit, and just showing us a little bit of the magic of Ta Lo that is kind of brought about.
And with the water, because they're the very Chinesey way of doing it with the water flow, and stuff like that. Really nicely done.
And as you say, it looks gorgeous as well. And communicates the point absolutely perfectly of kind of this forest that's constantly changing, and this one moment once a year, 3 days from now, where a path will open for them to go through. And it's storytelling wise, for me, what I love about this is we know that Wenwu has gone after his 2 children to kind of collect them and bring them home again, because it's very close to the moment when they can get through the path. So many films, it's just sort of convenient that they happen to get together 3 days before whatever. And this, like, yes, of course it's sort of convenient for the plot that it's very close, but actually they've justified it because he's
planned it
specifically to get them for this date.
Yes, they haven't. It's not like they've messed up and revealed their hidden location to him. He already knew where they were.
Yeah,
he outright says, I've always known where my kids are. Like of course I know where you are. Yeah, you never. I just let you. I gave you 10 years. I gave you time away because he's immortal. He's lived for over 1,000 years right now. So he's like, yeah, whatever. Like, I gave you 10 years. I always, as you say, it because otherwise, you're absolutely right. It's like, oh, conveniently, the full moon is in 12 hours. This once a decade of occurrence or whatever like that happens tomorrow. How convenient. We don't have to wait 6 months. It makes sense that he's planned it. So Yeah, that looks really good. I mean, he does his master plan, explains his master plan. They try to intervene. He throws it to the floor and locks them away.
Yes,
Basically, yeah.
because they
They basically say no,
yeah,
Dad. What you want about?
they say no, and then they try to say to all of the henchmen, like, you shouldn't do this either, which, is definitely going to work.
Yeah, absolutely.
with
They're all going to go, oh, you're
henchmen
right.
against the guy who has infinite power.
The infinite power, immortal man with invincible rings on him. Yeah, no.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, no, sure, I'm going to turn against my boss.
Yeah. But yeah, then we
And we go to the cave.
go to the cave. Yeah, we go to the cave, don't we?
We sort of reiterate for the audience very clearly that neither of the siblings have ever been to Tarlo.
Yeah.
There's a little moment of Charlene just wondering whether or not Wenwu
What,
could
is he
be
right?
right,
Yeah.
in that way that you sort of you can understand from a child who's lost a parent being like,
and also,
could it be?
And also, there is actual magic. Like,
Yes.
in the MCU and stuff like that, there is actual magic and actual supernatural things that happen all the time. So it's even more plausible that something like this could happen.
Yes,
Quite frankly,
absolutely. And it's easy to understand the appeal to it. The other thing that is relevant at this point is we haven't seen it at this point.
Yep.
But later we will understand that actually Xialing has never seen, didn't see the body, basically.
Yeah. Because he wasn't.
In a very comic booky kind of way. She was elsewhere when her mum died, and it was only Shang-Chi who saw it happen, and then Shang-Chi was with her when Wu got back.
Yeah, completely.
And so you can totally get why Xialing would wonder about this. And Shang-Chi very specifically doesn't say, no, you're stupid, you're wrong.
Yeah.
He just kind of says, whatever it is, whatever the truth might be, we have to get to Tarlo first so that we can warn them that Wenwu is coming, basically. And then we get this weird, scary noise coming from the back of the cave, and we get the great line from Katie of like, "Oh, we're going towards the sound."
Yeah.
Yes,
we're going towards the sound, but it's where we meet Trevor. Trevor's back by Ben Kingsley.
Slattery.
I'm genuinely glad they included him because I feel like because of the bait and switch with the Mandarin in Iron Man 3, I feel it makes perfect sense that, as he said earlier, look, they took my organization and made some random guy here. He's not going to be happy about it. I'm glad it was addressed, and I'm glad it makes 100% sense that he'd have grabbed him. I know he keeps him kind of, like, I know he does kind of explain that, he was about to get killed, and then he launched it. Because remember, he said he was his thing was the toaster Croydon. I'm thinking of back from Iron Man, but
oh yeah, his Lear.
That's it, his Lear, and essentially, basically it's almost like in Tropic Thunder where he impresses the hostage takers and they make him, as you say, a jester. So he just does performances for them, and I believe he was practicing something for the kids. He made him practice something for them because it's what he says.
Yeah. So for their welcome home dinner.
Their welcome home thing. That's it. Yeah.
He's basically a court jester.
He's a jester. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He just keeps around because he's amusing, and why not? But then you see Morris turns up as well.
Yes. So interestingly, the things that I've read about this have called Morris a Hundun or a Hundun.
Yep.
I'm not entirely sure how it's specified. You were saying the sort of comparable creature is more of a jinn.
Yeah, I'm going to spell it as well. Dijang is what I got from my researchy thing. Don't know if I'm right. I just Undone
okay.
Looks
I'm gonna look it up. Okay. So it said Dijang, often described in Chinese texts as a faceless, featureless creature with 6 legs and 4 wings.
There you go. That's him.
So I don't know where the name Hundun came from. I obviously got it from a disreputable
It's
source,
awesome.
and I apologise. Uh, but
Either way, Morris.
all of which is to say we meet Morris, and there's a wonderful moment of Trevor being like, "Oh, you can see him too."
He is real, which is also not an unfair thing because he looks weird.
Yes.
And like, if no one else has reacted to him, and you'd think you're going bonkers. So I get that, but yeah,
Yep. Yep.
and we get some, and also it gives us that comedy, a some appropriate comedy, and
Yeah.
b the link, the guide aspect of
Yes.
having the character who can then guide them to where they're going for the film, for moving the film on quickly, and he just says something, and then Ben Kingsley translates it essentially with
Yes.
hilarity, like 90%, no, 19%, sure
Yes.
you won't die, things like that, yeah. And then we get the fun of how do they get out, and they easily escape because Sis escaped before.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
they get
She
into
just
the
barges her way through a wall.
yeah,
And
that's
is
it.
like, this
And
is
then they
what I do.
nick Razorfist's car. Although I do think, 'cause technically, I don't think technically he's ever been called Razor Fist.
No,
As in
it's just
verbally.
written on his car.
It's written on his car
isn't it?
keys and it's on his number plate, stuff like that. And we know it as the character. But yeah, then we have the fun car chase around the garage while they, again, very martial arty, fight off the motorcycle goons
Should
kind
we
of thing.
skip over this bit just to stop me going off on one?
Because it looks awful, or because is it because the ridiculous of they randomly need a handprint which very quickly opens the door very quickly
It's
and closes it
more
just
the
as shut.
fact that they have a giant car chase around a very, very
Small car park.
small space with terrible, 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 terrible CGI.
And moving on, Trevor explains how he gets into acting.
Yes, he does.
Yes, he
Which
does.
is another just brilliant
About
moment.
Planet of the Apes and how all those apes were acting. Which
Yeah.
means I can act. Like, and they're all looking at him like, what? This guy's guiding us?
Yeah, and then it sort of they fake it out again. Of
Yes.
like it's so brilliantly put together. The way that they use Trevor as Katie is a
The different
very,
type of humour.
very funny
Yeah.
character, and then they sort of take Katie and they like push her a level further up, and she becomes Trevor. And Trevor is like pure comedy and no drama whatsoever.
But he's not trying to be funny.
Yes.
Like I say, whereas Katie is being funny, as in like she's intentionally obviously being sarcastic and doing that, whereas Trevor is just mad.
and importantly, for a film that incorporates so much humor, they needed to introduce another comedy element, because actually, once we get into the second half of the film here, Katie actually becomes a much more serious character.
Yeah, because she's a bit out of her depth now, and
she's out of her depth. She's got Shang-Chi opening up to her later on. She's facing down this kind of mortal peril.
Yep.
And she can suddenly understand that now is not the time to be funny. But the film continues to have that slightly comedic presence in Trevor. Not slightly comedic, I mean purely comedic and hilarious presence in Trevor.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're completely spot on, and that's what he's for. But long story short, they get into the secret entrance with some hilarity of going through the tree maze with the turn left into what hard ride now and things like that. And stay in the pocket. That was it. Stay in the pocket.
Stay in the pocket. Stay in the pocket.
Yeah, and bit of drama, but we get through it all.
Surprisingly,
and we end up driving, like I say, the helpfully electrical car through the waterfall into the magical world of Ta Lo.
It is slightly ridiculous that obviously going somewhere like Ta Lo, they can't be driving a big
petrol car,
gas guzzling Jeep thing that's going to ruin the environment, kind of thing. So having an electric car is a very quick and easy way of saying, hey, these are the good guys. But they've stolen the bad guy's car.
I'll be honest, I suspect that old Wenwu, because he is, basically immortal, I think he'd be all over investing in that kind of crap, because, he doesn't want to live in a world that's I think climate change will genuinely, this is going to be a weird deep dive, I think it'd be top on his mind because, with us, it's all about giving our kids something
Yeah,
better and things like
yeah.
that. Whereas he could be the man, he benefits from it himself.
You're not wrong. You're
So,
not wrong.
so I think it's more of the whole, because
just
he's absolutely the long view of characters. So it makes sense.
except to counter that,
Go on.
the rest of the cars that he has are
Petrol.
all gas guzzling, diesel engined Land
Maybe
Rovers.
because Razor Fist only has one hand,
But
it's easier to plug a charging thing in.
It's but also it's Razor Fist's car. It's not Wenwu's car.
I imagine he'd have a policy. And you've got to follow your boss's policy. But no, I think it could just be because, it's easier to plug in with one hand rather than take the fuel cap off and with one hand.
I'm not convinced that that's necessarily true, but
I'm just shocked that the film didn't dedicate more to this. But there we go.
Yes, exactly. They should have arrived and had Michelle Yeoh saying like, "And thank you for being courteous and arriving in an electric car."
Exactly. But back to the film. We as we arrive, we get this lovely little CGI, and like the transition into, it was almost like the Marvel sparkly ring, but with water.
Yes, yeah, I really liked that. It was a very nice nod.
Yeah, to the kind of transportation thing. But yeah, either way, so we basically we slowly roll forward in our electric car, seeing all the weird and wonderful mythical creatures, phoenixes, more Dejangs like Morris, Quinn, Quill, Chilin, the weird horse thing, the two kick-ass guardian lions,
which are amazing,
looked awesome, and they basically roll up to the village.
Yeah, they get sort of confronted by Guangbo, who is played by Yuan Hua, who is another very highly thought of, revered actor in Chinese cinema. And obviously there are a few American films that he's done as well that people will recognize him from, but he is very well known and very well respected. And he's basically saying like, "Go away, we don't want you here.
Yeah, go away.
We're going to kill you." And then we're introduced for the first time to the Michelle Yeoh character, who is Ying Nan,
who basically stops in and says, "Will you stop being so grumpy?"
Yes. Yes,
don't listen to him. He's just
exactly. So we learn that very distinctive voice that we heard at the beginning of the film narrating the background to the Ten Rings is actually Shang-Chi and Xiaoling's aunt, so the sister of Ying Li.
Wen Li, yeah.
Yes. So they have this kind of very warm moment that you kind of know that neither of these siblings have had a moment like this since their mother died. And there's this wonderful look on both of their faces where they're sort of trying to take in and process this idea that actually this is someone who knew their mother and who connects them to this place. And it's beautifully played by both of them, I think, of that kind of confusion and wonder and love and everything else that kind of comes through what they're doing. And then you've also got Katie's reaction of like, "Oh, this random woman is hugging me, and this is nice. It's a nice way to be welcomed somewhere." Nicer than the reception that I got when I went to Macau, and nicer than the reception I got when I got to the Ten Rings compound, and then we get Morris popping out and being like, "Hey, I'm home," and then we have Trevor jumping out and being like, I come in peace, basically.
Yeah.
Wonderful thing.
And this is also our key to get more backstory.
Yeah, so this is where the backstory starts to feel a little bit heavy to me. It's starting to feel like they're sort of starting to shoehorn things in
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah. No, I see what you mean, because obviously we have had quite a lot of exposition over the course of this film, and it has been really well done. But at some point, yeah, like you say, it's probably a bit much. But also, we're also near the end now, and they're basically setting up the final kind of big bad. Well,
Yes.
Wenwu is always the big bad, but the big bad, the Dennis Hopper,
Yes.
Tier 24. Kind of thing. So the dweller in darkness, who eats people's souls, and they basically explain how he's it's a bad monster thing that is, and I'm gonna let you take over while I quickly Google him, because I'm pretty sure he's a character and I forgot to talk about him in the thing.
Yeah, so she explains not only that the dweller in darkness is sort of eats people's souls, but also that the key part of this is they've trapped it behind the gate because it wants to
Be released.
go through the portal into the kind of into our world, and it's mimicking Ying Li and reaching out to Wenwu to convince him that she's still alive and she's behind the gate, so that he will open the gate for the dweller to break out and achieve its goal, its nefarious goal.
And he is, I know I'm interjecting this, and this is going to look awful for me because I completely missed him out. But no, he is a character thing. He's one of the Fear Lords. Yeah, there you go. I'll talk about more while I'm doing it. But he basically is a demon from from another dimension, the embodiment of
Right.
humanity's collective fear. So
Wow.
he is. He doesn't
That's
look
a
like he
lot.
does in the. He's almost like a big, like the Ood in Doctor Who.
Yes.
Well, he's a bit like an octopus face, but otherwise kind of humanoid, unlike the big kind of Cthulhu state dragon thing.
Yes.
But
Yeah,
he
slightly different.
Slightly different, yeah. He's first appeared in Thor in 1974. But yeah, he's an elder god from Everin, some dimension thing.
So basically, it has a lot more to it than just being a giant dragon.
He's not just some giant thing. He is a proper thing, yeah. Like I say, he's a big
which
god.
Sort of feels a little bit disappointing that they
He's
treated
basically
it in quite the way that they did.
He's not like the comic history is huge. There's so many different characters that get drafted in and stuff like that. Like he's based on Cthulhu, obviously from the face and what he looks like, and I think he's been inspired in X-Men and stuff like that. Like basically, he's a big demon bad guy. So I think it's fine them doing it like that. You're not making any big loss with using him as that. He's a good, like I say, demon character. He's a big baddie. We don't need to. He doesn't have to have any kind of nuance with. Is he really just misunderstood? Like Wenwu actually, even though he's a baddie, he does love his family, and he just can't show it. Almost like so he's not completely evil. So you can see the aspects of humanity in him, whereas this is a big demon thing. Go hit it, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And it does work in terms of how it then clashes with the Great Protector.
Yes. Yes.
But obviously, we'll come on to this.
Yes, we'll get there. We'll get there. We're almost there.
Soon.
Yes. Basically, Dweller, big baddie, stuck behind the gate. He's tricking Wenwu to come get him because Wenwu is powerful with the 10 rings. So he knows Wenwu is powerful enough to free him. Therefore, he's luring. There we go.
At this point, we're also introduced to the weapons that Tarlo
the cool dragon
has.
Stuff, yeah.
Which are all forged from dragon scales in one way or another. And this is the point at which Katie is sort of taken off by
a standard sidekick thing where they get introduced to a bow or some sort of thing they've never used before, which they become really good at.
Yes.
Like standard film thing.
Exactly. Yeah. So she's kind of marched off to see Guangbo and learn how to
archery.
So in previous films, as we have discussed, you have taken exception to some of the archery. What's your feeling on this particular form of archery, or is it just something that you know so little about you can't comment?
I think it looked like archery. It looked fine. I only get annoyed. I guess it's Western archery, because. But no, to be fair, this look as in the things I get annoyed is when people stick their elbow up too high and
Yeah,
things like
yeah.
that. Whereas in here, their form looked fine. Like it looked
And
perfectly plausible.
it's a very different. It's different in. This is where you get annoyed with me for using all of the wrong terminology, but the hand that is on the bowstring
Yes.
in, I think I'm right in saying that Western archery, you're basically straddling, you've got two fingers on the string
Yep.
that are sort of either side of the back of the
Yes.
arrow, and you're sort of just releasing the string from your fingers. Whereas in this kind of Eastern side, they're pinching the back of the arrow against the bowstring between their kind of thumb and forefinger and releasing it that way.
So what's funny for everyone is that I'm watching Ollie demonstrate this with his hands over
And
video, and it's
I'm,
really funny.
I'm trying to demonstrate it visually so that I can try to explain it.
Trying to verbally explain it.
Yes, and I don't think it really worked.
Yes,
But
I think it's no, I think it's fine because yeah, I use it's three fingers below the arrow for me because you're not sighting along an actual sight, you're sighting on the shaft of the arrow, and I think this Western style looks really good. Western and Eastern style, yeah. So no, it looks. I genuinely, like you say, I get annoyed with random little things like that, but at no point did I get annoyed in this film. About, I think
excellent.
also the fact that it was big magical red arrows probably meant I felt fine with it. It wasn't like because like Hawkeye, like when he's doing his, it's the fact he's got his protector, his wrist guard on him, which annoys me because that's for beginners. It's to stop you. It's to stop the string hitting your wrist. That's what it is. You don't need that if you can, if you know how to shoot, which Hawkeye does. So it's things like that that irritate me. Like, why does he need that?
Yep.
He doesn't.
And then he's also teaching his daughter incorrectly.
Yes, all that kind of stuff, which annoys me. But yeah, no. So these archery things were fine. These were cool.
Good, excellent. So once Katie has gone off to start to learn archery, Shang-Chi and Xialing even go to their mother's shrine with
Yeah, shrine. That's right.
Ying
Yeah,
Nan, and
memorial shrine. Yeah. Either
yeah,
way, they get their super suits.
and yeah, they're given their super suit. So this is the kind of random piece of film kind of behind the scenesy stuff that I just love when it comes to costumes, particularly the amount of detail and the care that goes into creating some of these things that are frankly they won't show on screen to the extent and the detail that of the effort that's put into creating them. Like, for instance, in the chainmail that was used in the Hobbit movies,
Yep.
is all the only way of making chainmail is by linking individual links
Yeah.
in the chain one by hand. Similarly, in this film, their super suits have 14,000 individually made dragon scales that are sewn onto their costumes by hand.
It's amazing.
I find that mind boggling, but it's the kind of thing that I love. I love knowing the level of detail that people go to and the sort of the care and love of their craft that they show in constructing those kind of things.
It is pretty amazing. It is pretty amazing. And then as we carry on around the compound, not compound, around the village stuff like that, you see Yin Nang tells Xiaoling. I'm so rubbish. Xiaoling, yeah. Basically, she gets told that everyone's equal and everyone has to train because she sees all the women training and all the girls training. Yeah, she's basically saying, yeah, you can train here. We're not your father's organisation. So it gives her a cool dragon scale rope dart thing to go chop some bamboo down with.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of feel like her training ground isn't particularly well tailored to her because she basically gets to do one sort of training
I
session,
was
and then it's
immediately
done.
thinking that when he finished the little training montage and she cut all the bamboo down, I'm like, well, someone's now got to put that all back up again, or get some more bamboo.
Yes.
But luckily, there's lots around. But then so she's doing that, and Shang-Chi wants to learn how to fight like his mum, because quite rightly, she was the only one who directly beat him in hand-to-hand combat.
Yes.
So Ying Nan schools him good, fights him, and kind of refreshes him on the forms that his mum had surreptitiously taught him, which is again going to come in later.
Yes, absolutely.
Hashtag flashback.
And so this is a fantastic little fight of that stirs up the full film nerdery in me because it's so cleverly shot and edited. So what you have is, if you watch it carefully, they start fighting, and Shang-Chi has obviously got his very aggressive style that he's coming in with.
Yeah.
The style that he learnt from the
Dad.
Death Dealer and his dad and everyone else. During that section, you are getting very Western American style quick cutting of and inserts of kicks and punches and blocks and faces and everything else. It's all kind of boom, 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 boom. As soon as she releases that tense closed fist that he's got and kind of softens him up, the fight transitions and it changes into very long takes and simple camera moves, very wide shots so you can see the whole body of both of the people fighting, and it's very much the classic Chinese and Eastern style of shooting martial arts. And I love that little detail that probably very few people would actually notice. But from my perspective, that kind of dedication to the storytelling and the transition between styles and mirroring that in the shooting styles and editing style and everything else is beautifully put together, and it makes my heart happy.
No, it's good. Like I say, the martial arts stuff is amazing in this.
Yeah, it just is. Yeah, it really is. Really, really is.
So after that epically cool mini martial arts fight, which obviously loving, we have the flashback again. So we kind of continue the flashback story. So now we have Ying Li's death and the aftermath of what follows. We see Ying Li teaching the young Shang-Chi the same smooth forms that he's just been schooled in by her sister. And when a kind of basically a gang leader rocks up, played by Raymond Ma, who wants revenge for something Wenwu did. I mean, there's no details, but we don't need to. He was a kind of crime lord essentially. So obviously
he wasn't a nice
man. So there's going to be someone wanting payback, because Wenwu isn't there. She faces him, kind of basically says, well, my kids aren't part of this, and it looks like she's going to kick their asses, but then
you kind of look at it and there's what, 6 dudes,
and she's like, she can take
with,
them,
and you're
but then
oh yeah, she's got this.
Then loads of others turn up. We think, okay, yeah, she's going to die.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously we know she's going to die, but you're like, okay, I see how she's going to die. Yeah, then it happens, and then we see the death obviously turns Wenwu back into Rage Man. Again, understandable. But basically, we see the fallout kind of thing, where he takes Shang-Chi to the club where he kills a load of people trying to find the boss. Then we finally see the teenage Shang-Chi being sent off on his mission to go kill the guy.
And again, it's one of those flashbacks that just changes the perspective a little
bit, yeah,
on the stuff that we've seen before and gives us a different perspective.
Yeah, and then after this, we're back in Tai Lo, and this is where Shang-Chi kind of confesses to Katie that he did actually go through with the mission. So he did kill the guy who killed his mum, and so shocked and shamed afterwards that he just couldn't go back. And she's like, "Yeah, you were trained from birth by an assassin to be an assassin,
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
cut yourself some slack."
Yeah.
Basically, but he says he's going to be that. He says he's going to be that person again and kill his dad, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So kind of like ups the ante in that respect. Yeah.
And he's sort of going through the same transition that his dad went through.
Yeah.
You know, when his mum was alive, he was this kind of happy, light-hearted kid, and then his mum died, and he became hardened.
Yeah, hardened. That's it. Yeah.
Then, sort of, once he escaped from that world, he became the kind of softer, light-hearted person again. But he is now making exactly the same decision that his dad made, which is, I am going to go back to that hard-hearted, fixed purpose kind of person to achieve my goal. And the goal that I'm trying to achieve is to stop my dad, which means I'm going to have to kill him.
Because it's the only way I can stop him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of setting it all up, isn't it? And then nice little setting up montage, obviously, because we like a little montage as they,
Always.
prepare. Always love a montage. They prepare for their battle because they know they're coming, and then when they all rock up, when Wu and his gang rock up with their, like you say, bad guy diesel cars, Gung Bo hilariously telling Katie that she's actually not ready.
Yes.
Have a bow and just sidelines her straight away, setting up the dramatic thing later, obviously. And then, when Wu, Death Dealer, Razor Fist, and his goons with their glowy blue weapons.
Yeah, so we've got the glowy red of
we've got red and blue.
Dragon scales, and then we've got the glowy blue,
a bit of a
sort of electric-y
type guns. It's a fun kind of, from a Western point of view, reversal of the good guys have red,
yes,
and the bad guys have blue.
Yes.
Whereas obviously in anything else it would be the other way around. But they have their little standoff at the start, and essentially, obviously, Yin Yang starts fighting Death Dealer and stuff like that. It all kicks off, kind of thing.
Yeah.
As Shang-Chi tries to chase down Wenwu, who again hilariously, because he's so powerful, just strolls through the battle.
Yes.
Kind of thing, without like not a care in the world, while everything's fighting around for them. Even like when he goes inside the shrine, he respectfully lights the candle for his wife and things like that still.
Yeah.
And when Shang-Chi confronts him and stuff like that, again, it's the very Eastern style of respecting each other. It's not just like witty one-liner and launch into the fight. They proper square up against each other in a very slow, deliberate way, and then they have an awesome fight scene.
And his dad sort of slightly
blames him,
kind of winds Shang-Chi up first.
Yeah.
And then kind of discovers straight away that actually Shang-Chi isn't the frightened little boy that Wenwu thinks he is.
Yeah.
And yeah, as you say, they have this incredible fight between the two of them in the village.
In the village alone, yeah.
That finishes by Shang-Chi being kind of sent flying into the lake.
Basically,
disappearing. And Wenwu does his cool little
it's called power jump thing.
Jumps, yes. And he gets to the gate, which is across the lake from the village, and he starts punching it to break it open. And I love the effect that it has of him sort of punching on the bottom,
and it all ripples up,
kind of scales rippling all the way up. I think it's a beautiful kind of visual and auditory. To be fair, the sound design on it is gorgeous as well, but the way that they make it work is absolutely gorgeous. That then opens like the tiniest little gap, and the first Soul Eater begins to emerge. And as it kind of comes across, Yin Nan kind of says, this is going to be really, really bad, and we need to all collaborate together. And Razor Fist kind of says, ha 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 ha, no, because we are
the
amazing.
10 Rings. We don't need your help. We're not going to help you. And again, a hilarious film thing of obviously Death Dealer, who, is this kick-ass fighter. You expect to have some epic thing, just gets killed.
Yes.
Like, just gets hoiked up. And they're all of the, 10 Ring guys' weapons do nothing against it.
Yes.
But then they manage to do it with their things. And then suddenly it's the whole kind of okay, let's work together type thing from Razor Fist. Really good. Release them. And then,
Yeah. completely. And that's when Katie finally kind of
Grabs her bow.
stops being ignored, and also stops kind of heeding
Yep.
what other people are saying, and just grabs a bow. And Guangbo sees her do it, and I love that. Just
don't
sees
die.
her, takes a moment, and then just turns around and like, oh, I can't be bothered to like fight this. So like, yeah, just don't die, please. And then this sort of new collection, or sort of the combined team of the two sides that were fighting each other are formed up, ready to battle as like a full-on army of soul suckers.
Yeah, like a big swarm of them kind of appears on the horizon, doesn't it? And yeah. But luckily, Shang-Chi underwater awakens a great protector in the lake, basically, with a bit of a kind of, I think was it a bit of flashbacky, wasn't it? A bit of a remembering mum type thing, and doing all these kind of
because the mum, I think it's going back to that first flashback at the very beginning of the movie, when she is talking about the Great Protector and kind of says you're connected to him or whatever, and then he wakes the Protector up,
and then she kind of bursts out of the lake, and then, like I say, dramatically starts munching on soul sucker things, and then they get to see Shang-Chi flying on his head.
I really like the way that they shot both him here, but also Xialing later riding on the head. I don't quite know exactly what it was, but somehow it looked so much better than the vast majority of like riding on dragon shots that you get in things. I think part of it might be that they weren't sort of sitting,
they're not sitting on the
straddling
seat.
it like a horse.
It's like it's like they're hanging on the back of the hare.
Yes, and standing up.
And also I think it helps with the way it moves, because it's the kind of Eastern dragon style, so it's all the very sea serpent type aerial snake thing, rather than big beating wings and stuff.
Yes,
and so it kind of translates a bit better, I think. But basically, she says, no, you go deal with your dad.
Yes.
So again, we have a nice we have a little standoff again, but he's not listening, so they fight again. And we get an awesome mirror of the fight from the start, basically, between Wenwu and Ying Li. But then Shang-Chi manages to get kind of, like I say, 5 of the rings from Dad, and then they change from blue to like yellow. And it's kind of like they orbit around him and he uses them in the fight. And we get some, again, it's a proper awesome. I like how all the fights have been pretty different. They've been epic and brilliant in their own way, and they're always something new and different, but the same two. So it's a really cool fight. And Wenwu
the
fires.
The important thing at this point is that Shang-Chi never actually wears.
No, he doesn't wear them. He just kind of orbits them around him, and it's almost like he's using the wind to move them around, or using the chi or whatever. And like you say, it kind of builds up to a dramatic thing where he's got like all 10 of them in like a bit of, it's like he's powering them up, some big like Hayuken type thing, and then he just drops them on the floor.
There's a very like Mortal Kombat moment coming, and it's sort of, you're right ready for it to happen, and he's just like, nope,
Dad.
And even at that point, when Wu still can't accept that Ying Li isn't behind the gate,
but then it's all comes tumbling down.
Yes. Like, I'm gonna get her, and then no.
And then he realizes, but immediately that thing happens, and he immediately sucks the rings to himself and uses them to push Shang-Chi out of the way.
Yes.
So he immediately saves him, and then gets snapped up by the dweller.
He sort of sacrifices himself.
Basically, he does the thing where it's almost like he looks like he could fight it, but he doesn't, because he doesn't want to. He gives the ring, and then like you say, he opens his fists, and the rings fly to Shang-Chi onto him. And I guess the weird way about him dying with the soul getting sucked out, there's no like last words or anything like that. There's just like a look, and it's really poignant, and he just like drops, and that's it.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a beautifully executed little moment.
Yeah, it's a great, like, not over the top death scene. It's sufficiently epic in that it's the big bad doing it, but it's not hammy and drawn out, and he just
And
drops.
it's not
And
having
that's it.
Shang-Chi kind of doing the falling to his knees and
Yes.
going, no.
No, exactly. Yeah. So that a cool thing, and then obviously it goes on and flies off to towards the village.
Yes, yeah, it takes off to go to the village, and Xialing sort of rocks up on the Great Protector
Yeah.
to sort of collect Shang-Chi and chase it down, and they kind of create
This weird
like
water vortex thing, tornado thing around it, don't they? Yeah.
Yes, and it genuinely at this point I thought they'd won.
Yeah.
It was like this was the end of
This
the
was the
fight,
end
and
bit.
it was
You
like,
thought this was it?
yeah, family gets back together, they defeat it, and then you start seeing the soul suckers like dropping souls into its mouth, and
Yeah,
you're like,
yeah, like feeding it.
oh
Yeah.
no.
And it's like powering it up, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it's like just a big power up, and it manages to escape. And not only does it escape, it also grabs the Great Protector and starts to
sucking its soul.
Yeah, exactly. And we get a very quick insertion by Ying Nan saying, like, oh, if it gets the Protector's soul, it will make it invincible. So it's ratcheting up that danger level again. And Guangbo is about to save the day, and like genuinely looks like he's about to do some good,
and then just gets killed.
Yes, in a very kind of it's a very savage sort of
anticlimactic way, in the way he's just
out of nowhere, and he just gets murdered, has his soul sucked out of him.
But that's obviously sets up Katie for her shot, but simultaneously Shang-Chi refuses to let his sister go, proper holding on to the rings, like they kind of wrap around their wrists so they can't let go, and
yes,
and she's like, you gotta let me go, and he's like, no, I'm not letting you go, that kind of emotional thing. And then at the right time, the arrow from Katie flies through its throat, stops it, and then the dragon, his soul goes back into him. It's all good, and they do the final moves on it, don't they?
Yes, yeah. So they sort of separate, and Xialing and the dragon go off in one direction as Shang-Chi kind of fires himself up
in
into
the thing, and then
the sky.
And she uses her like rope dart thing to hook on to the dweller and kind of pull it, almost like open it, pull it back kind of thing. And that's when the Shang-Chi throws the rings down.
Yeah.
And they do this
and
weird...
straight down its throat.
Right down its throat, yeah. And they do the weird kind of funky, very slow-mo as he's falling from the air, doing his funky kind of form moves, which again...
I like to think that he really carefully planned how high he needed to be to manage to do what he needed to do to make the dweller explode and fit in all of his like forms and swishes and swooshes while he's falling, and he's just kind of going upwards and upwards, thinking high enough, no, high enough, no, high. Yeah, this'll
do. Yeah, we get the big epic explosion where he makes the rings explode inside him, kind of thing, and he just like splatters into loads of little bits.
Yes,
it's all done.
It's a very violent death.
Yes.
And you do see quite a lot of it too. The big explosion and
guts flying everywhere, basically.
Pieces of it everywhere. It's quite a gruesome sort of death.
Yeah, and then that's it. And then we kind of get to the aftermath. So when we get the nice kind of beautiful funeral / celebration scene, like back in old Thor.
Yeah, it really reminded me of the funerals.
The Asgard when after the Dark Elves do their attack, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and they're releasing all of the
lanterns and or boats for them, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like the little burning boats in Thor, and then there's all of the gorgeous Chinese lanterns in this one
with the cool yin yang symbol by the Great Protector doing that, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So it's again a really nice ending, and then we get the nice back to reality with Shang-Chi and Katie back in San Francisco, hilariously,
with the same couple
with the same
that
couple
they were
recounting the
talking
story.
to before, who told them that they needed to get a
Need
life
to
and
get a
everything
life, yeah.
else.
And then
And they're kind of saying, well, we did get lives and we did this, and there were soul suckers and there was the Great Protector and the dragons and all the rest of it.
and they think that's quite rightly think they're taking the piss,
Yes.
until Wrong turns up. And apparently, so in the scene, because he kind of barges past them, that wasn't scripted.
Yes.
That's why they look surprised, because he kind of pushed them aside
Yeah.
and did that thing, and that's why they look so shocked. But
which I really, really like. It's a beautiful. That whole scene is wonderful. Wong is being very Wong,
yep,
and everyone in the place is just staring at him, and he's just like, okay, you guys, you need to come with me.
he's coming out.
And so they go, and everyone is just like, I don't know what just happened. And that's the end of the film.
That's the end of the film, yeah, that's it. And they just disappear, and then that's it, yeah.
And then we go into the credits,
which is a nice, cool, funky water style thing, just like in the like with the map room. Kind of it ends up merging into the whole kind of the 10 rings, but they like water light and stuff like that. So it's really cool.
Yeah, the design, the MCU has got really, really good at designing compelling credit sequences.
Yes.
And obviously, everyone is sitting there waiting for the kind of mid-credit scenes or the end credit scenes or both of them. And so there's something that feels like a little bit of a reward almost, of like,
you're right,
we're going to give you something else to pay attention to and watch, and not just give you like 5 minutes of credits and then a scene and 5 minutes of credits. This is another example of just really beautifully designed credit sequences.
Yeah, like you say, because they know people are going to watch them because they're going to wait for the sting. So it's so it's quite good. And yeah, and we're it's like I say, it's a beautiful little sequence, and then we're obviously rewarded with our mid-credit sequence with Wong, Bruce Banner, played by Mark Ruffalo, of course. Isn't this his like 13th film or something? I think.
I have no idea.
Carol Danvers by Brie Larson via hologram ofs, trying to basically analysing the rings. We get the line that Wong's like, they're not recognizing their codex, Banner's like, they're not vibranium, Carol's like, they're not alien tech that she's seen, but they're sending a beacon off. And then they kind of cut it short, and those all, with a bit of humour, they all bugger off.
What's really funny in this is Brie Larson. So obviously having Carol Danvers there makes total sense for what they're trying to do.
Spacey things.
But Brie Larson has appeared in all of Destin Daniel Cretton's films.
Oh, is she?
And so there's something quite nice about the fact that it sort of keeps the streak going, But yeah, we get the lovely line of Bruce sort of welcoming them to the circus.
To the circus, yeah.
And we get one of the first moments of Wong showing more emotional intelligence than we might normally imagine him having, or certainly haven't seen much of before, where he's very clear that things will change for them, and they may be difficult, and they are obviously going to go through tough times because they're going to be doing superhero-y things now. Just the way that he delivers it, the way that Benedict Wong delivers it, it's a much softer side of him that we haven't necessarily seen much of.
Yes. Yeah, completely agree. Because it was like he's dealing with people who've been thrown into this, and he has the emotional maturity to kind of just the way he is, rather than like but when he was antagonistic to Doctor Strange, stuff like that, because he knew so it's really it's a really good point. And obviously we were rewarded with the whole you need to go home and rest, prepare yourself for this journey. And Kate's like, we should go rest, or and then we get Hotel California and karaoke.
Yes. Just a lovely little callback to the beginning of the film, and great comedy moment. And
Yep.
this is something that we've seen with Wong just very occasionally totally letting loose.
Yes. Well, we see a lot. I mean, we haven't had Multiverse of Madness yet because you see him watching soaps with his friend and stuff like that. And
Yes.
then they do it in She-Hulk as well. There's lots of things with Wong. So yeah, I love Wong. He's brilliant.
Yes, he is. He's wonderful.
And then we get our final post-credit scene, which is like after again, right at the end with old Sis, you know, because remember we got the quick name drop where that she was dismantling the criminal empire.
Yes.
And then
that's
basically
right.
she's like in her room, looks like she's kind of clearing stuff away, and then Razor Fist is like, they're ready. And then she kind of sits on the throne, watching over a new army of people training in the compound, which, like I say, it's got all the graffiti like her old Fight Club, and which just literally I added in now, it's the same as the starting shot, as in with him, with Wenwu, when he's sitting on his throne, he sits on his throne at start, it pans down and there's people haggling over whatever at the front, and then it pans out to them training. It's the same shot, just with her people doing the same thing, and then it starts obviously with women and then with men and stuff like that, but it's the same shot, which I hadn't noticed. I hadn't twigged in properly the first time.
No,
but only because I've watched it a million times now. I know you're gonna have to go check it now and then either berate me or compliment me in the edit, but
we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
The one issue I had with this is like there's a whole giant compound full of people, like some are training, some are constructing things, some are painting graffiti, and all of the everything. I don't entirely know why any of them needed her to come and sit on her throne to start doing what they were doing. I kind of feel like they could have just been doing things.
I mean, maybe it's just because the whole respect for the family kind of thing.
Yes.
But also, actually, weirdly, now that does remind me of one of the things that does slightly irritate me about this is the fact that, like, when they broke out of it, they were an easy drive away from the mystical village forest, because they just drive off in their car, don't they? And they're at the village, and they go to the magical forest, don't they?
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? When they break out, it's not
mean.
like they don't charter a plane or anything like that. They're in the same car they escaped with, so they obviously must be close by. It just feels a bit hilariously ridiculous.
No, that's why he built his compound there, because he knew it was.
Oh yeah, that was how I'm justifying in my head. But
yes, exactly.
It does feel a bit like
too. But you are right. It's like, oh, handily, it's.
Yeah. It's not like it's in a different country or anything
within
like that.
one charge of a BMW engine
away, and that's one of the minor things that irritate me about, which I only remembered now. But I'm not taking that away from me. I love this film, and like I say, at the end we're told the 10 wings will return.
They will. They will. So, kind of summing up at the end of all of it, I do really enjoy this film.
Yep.
And I think there's a couple of moments where the exposition
it's a bit too much
starts to feel a little bit clunky, and there are the 3 sequences of bits of the bus crash, bits of the bus crash, and all of the car chase fight in the garage and the driving through the forest just look rubbish. Just look really, really rubbish, and have either bad CGI or dodgy digi doubles, or Awkwafina massively overacting the sort of turning a car thing. And I just don't enjoy those. That's not fair. The bus scene is incredible. I can forgive the stuff around that. Those 2 car scenes just don't work for me at all. But having said that, everything else about this film is so good that I'm sort of willing to look past it, kind of in the same way as I am with the final fight in Black Widow.
Yeah, like you say, we don't want to let that mar the rest of the great film.
Yeah, exactly. And I really did enjoy watching it.
Yeah, I have nothing more to add apart from I love this film. Like I really do. I really do. I really think this gets overlooked more than it should do. I think it's a really good film for all the reasons we've said. And I love him. I love the cast kind of thing.
Yes,
I love the
absolutely.
effects. Apart from obviously the accepting nothing's perfect, and I love the martial arts in it.
Yeah,
Like for an MCU film as well, I love it.
the fights are beautifully
They're
choreographed.
really well done. So I'm really curious to see when he'll pop up again.
Yeah, me too. It's sort of surprising we haven't seen him since.
I think there's been Shang-Chi 2's mentions have happened on and off, it seems, but I'm not sure where it's going to happen.
And he was on the reveal for Avengers Doomsday.
Okay, so hopefully
well.
he'll be there.
So he will be part of that.
Excellent. So I think that's our show for this week.
I think it is.
So if you want to rewatch along with us next time, we'll be talking about The Eternals. And if you've been following the pod, you'll know that me and Ollie have been very much looking forward to watching this again.
All I would say is I think it's going to be a highly entertaining episode next time.
Yes.
You can follow our show at Marveling Pod on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, or you can email us your thoughts on geeks@marvelingpod.com.
And that's it. Thanks very much, Ollie.
Thanks very much, Dave.